They say some places disappear from memory for a reason. Not because time forgets them, but because time wants to forget. This is the story of a village erased from every map, every document, and every mind, except one. And it all began with a letter that should never have been delivered. It was the beginning of October when Mara found the envelope wedged inside her grandfather's old chest. The ink had faded to a brownish rust, and the paper was stiff, as if time itself had tried to crumble it into dust. But it was the name that made her blood run cold. Bran Hollow. She had never heard of the place before, yet something about it felt strangely familiar, like a forgotten dream that brushed the edges of her memory. Inside the envelope was a hand-drawn map, a photograph of a stone well in a field, and a note: "Do not return. Let it rot. Let it be forgotten." Mara had just lost her grandfather a month ago. He had always been a quiet man, guarded and reclusive in his final years. But now, she couldn't help but wonder what he had been hiding. She tried searching the internet. No trace. No maps, no satellite images, no stories. Even when she searched old archives at the library, there was nothing. The name Bran Hollow may as well have never existed. That was what drew her in. That was what made her drive 5 hours north through the winding mountain roads until she reached the border of the forests, the edge of memory. It started with the air. It was too still, too quiet, even for the countryside. The birds didn't sing. The leaves didn't rustle. The wind seemed to hold its breath. Her phone lost signal 2 miles back, but Mara kept following the map. The trees grew denser, almost pressing in on her car like watchers in the dark. Finally, the path narrowed into a trail barely fit for walking. She left her car and continued on foot, the crunch of dead leaves under her boots the only sound in a forest that felt old. Not just ancient but untouched, like no one had dared to set foot here for generations. Then she saw it. The broken wooden sign, nearly swallowed by vines, read, "Welcome to Bran Hollow." The letters were carved deep and uneven, as if done in a rush. Beneath it, someone had scrawled in red paint, "Turn back." But she didn't. The village was nestled in a foggy basin, hidden between hills thick with trees. The houses were small and crooked, leaning like drunks, their windows shattered, doors ajar. Moss grew on rooftops. Ivy climbed walls like claws. It looked as if the earth was trying to reclaim the village. And yet, something about it felt preserved. As if nothing had changed since the moment everyone had left, if they had ever left at all. She walked slowly, her breath visible in the strangely cold air. She noticed strange symbols etched into the stone walls: spirals, eyes, crooked crosses. At the center of the village was a well, the same one from the photo in the envelope. Its stones were blackened, damp, and covered in deep scratches, as if something had tried to crawl out. Mara stepped closer, peered into the darkness. That's when she heard it. A faint tapping sound, coming from deep inside the well. Not echoing, not natural. Deliberate. Like fingernails on stone. She stepped back, heart racing. A whisper followed. Soft, brittle. "You came back." She spun around. No one there. "You shouldn't have come back, Mara." She froze. No one had spoken her name. The village shifted then. The silence turned hostile. The wind picked up, dry and cold. Windows creaked, doors slammed. The trees at the edge of the clearing swayed like dancers in a storm that hadn't come. Mara stumbled backward, her eyes scanning the houses. One stood out. Larger than the rest, still intact. The roof was whole. The door was shut. And above it, carved into the wood, were the initials, H.T. Her grandfather's initials. Inside, the house was cloaked in dust and dimness. Cobwebs hung like curtains. Old furniture stood still, as if waiting. On the fireplace mantel were photos, black and white, faded but unmistakable. A man in his 20s, her grandfather. A woman beside him, a baby in her arms. Mara. She blinked in disbelief. Her hands trembled as she picked up the frame. Suddenly the room darkened. A shadow passed behind her. She turned. Nothing. She set the photo down and backed into the hallway. A door stood at the end. Unlike the rest, it was clean, untouched by decay. She opened it. Staircase led downward. The air grew colder with each step. A musty, rotting scent clung to the stone walls. When she reached the bottom, she found a small cellar lit by a single candle, still burning. Symbols covered the floor in chalk. Circles, crosses, runes. In the center sat a wooden box sealed shut with black wax. Something inside it moved. Then, from behind her, a voice. He tried to trap it. She turned slowly. A woman stood there, pale, thin, eyes hollow like caves. Her dress was torn, feet bare. Her skin looked wrong. Too pale, too tight. He brought it here, she whispered. He thought he could control it. But it feeds Mara. It never forgets. Mara stepped back. Who are you? The woman's eyes glistened. I was the last. Till now. The box began to shake. Don't open it, the woman said, voice trembling. If you open it, it will know. It will remember everything. Mara stared at the box. Something thumped inside. The air grew heavier. Her head throbbed. What is it? It's why the village was erased, the woman said. It needed to be forgotten. But your grandfather, he couldn't let go. He came back. And now so have you. The box cracked. A voice echoed from within. Not like a person, but like a crowd of whispers stitched together. Mara. Her vision blurred. The symbols on the floor glowed faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. The woman reached for her, but her hand passed right through Mara's arm. She wasn't real. Or not anymore. Mara stumbled back up the stairs. The house groaned as if in pain. Outside, the sky had darkened unnaturally, the air thick with static. As she ran back through the village, every house seemed to lean closer, every window watching. At the edge of the woods, she looked back. The well was glowing now, casting an eerie green light. And standing beside it was her grandfather. He raised a hand slowly, face pale, eyes black. You have to finish it, he said, or it'll follow you home. Then he vanished. Mara didn't stop running until she reached her car. The forest was no longer quiet. Voices rose from the trees. Laughing, crying, chanting. Her car's engine sputtered, then roared to life. As she sped away, she glanced in the rearview mirror. The village was gone. No sign of it. No road. No sign. But when she reached the highway an hour later and turned on her phone, she had a new message. Bran Hollow remembers. They say once something remembers you, it never truly lets you go. Bran Hollow was not just a village lost to time. It was something else. Something that had eyes. And now it had Mara. 3 days had passed since Mara's return. Her body was home, but her mind had stayed behind. The house was quiet, but not peaceful. Her grandfather's letter, the map, the photograph, they had all vanished from her bag. In their place was a scrap of parchment on her desk with just 4 words scrawled in charcoal. You brought it back. At night she couldn't sleep. She heard whispers behind her walls, the same chanting she heard in the forest. The air in her room had a chill that lingered, no matter how many blankets she used. And the dreams, if they were dreams, were worse. Each night, she stood at the edge of the well in Bran Hollow, looking down. She never jumped. But every time she looked into the dark, something looked back. And then came the mirror. She first noticed it the morning after the 4th night. Her bathroom mirror was fogged from her shower, and as she wiped the steam, she didn't see her own reflection. Instead, it showed the village. The twisted houses, the crooked trees, the glowing well, and standing in the center of it all was her. She screamed, stumbling back. When she looked again, it was gone. Just her reflection, shaking, pale, afraid. By the 6th night, things escalated. The lights in her house flickered randomly. Her phone glitched and buzzed at odd hours, often displaying a location it couldn't identify. Sometimes it simply read, Bran Hollow, arrival confirmed. Her neighbor, an old woman who lived alone next door, knocked on her door that evening. You all right, dear? She asked. I've been hearing voices. Like chanting, coming from your place. Mara lied. Old TV shows. I'll turn them down. But there was no TV on. There hadn't been for days. That night she heard footsteps upstairs. But she lived alone. She didn't own a pet. The sound was heavy, deliberate, something pacing. Mara crept up the stairs with a kitchen knife in hand. At the end of the hallway was her grandfather's room, the one she had kept locked since his death. The door stood open. The room was cold, dark. Dust floated in the sliver of moonlight that crept through the curtains. On the bed lay the black wooden box she had seen in the village cellar. The same box she had run from. The same box that had whispered her name. It was cracked open. Inside was a small bundle wrapped in what looked like old cloth. It pulsed slightly, like something alive was wrapped within. She backed away, heart pounding. Then behind her a whisper. "We remember you now." Mara turned. Nothing. The bundle twitched, then moved. Her body acted before her mind did. She slammed the lid shut, grabbed the box and ran. She didn't stop to think. She drove all night, heading back the way she had come days ago, back toward the forest, back toward the place that had already marked her. The GPS wouldn't recognize the roads. Her phone battery drained unnaturally fast, even on airplane mode. By dawn, she stood at the edge of the woods again. The sign was still gone. The road was overgrown. But the map in her head, etched there now, guided her through the trees like she had always known the way. Bran Hollow was waiting. The sky above it was darker now. Thicker clouds. No birds. No wind. As she stepped into the clearing, the village had changed. It was no longer a place frozen in time, it was waking up. The houses groaned. Shadows moved within. And in the center, the well glowed a sickly green, casting long, unnatural shadows on the cracked stones. She approached slowly, the box clutched to her chest like a cursed heart. Then she saw them. Figures. At first she thought they were statues, but they breathed, slow and shallow. Pale, translucent, eyes sunken but glowing faintly. Villagers. Dozens of them. Standing still around the well, surrounding her in silence. And among them, her grandfather. He looked younger than she remembered. Stronger. But his face was hollow. His voice was not quite his own. "You brought it home," he said. "It followed you like it followed me. But it was never meant to leave." "What is it?" she whispered. He pointed to the well. "It came from below. Before the village. Before us. We tried to feed it. To contain it. Ritual after ritual. Sacrifice after sacrifice. But it needed more. Fed on memory. On presence. On being known." Mara stared at him. "Why did you come back? Why leave me that map?" His expression darkened. "Because I failed. I tried to trap it in that box. But it broke through me. Needed new eyes. New hands. You were the last of us. It knew your blood. You were always going to return." The villagers began to hum. A low, unified note that vibrated the ground beneath her feet. The box twitched in her arms. The cloth unraveled slightly. Something inside blinked. It had eyes. Thousands of them. Layered like scales. All looking up at her. "No," she whispered. "No more." She dropped the box into the well. It didn't fall. It floated, suspended in the glowing green light. The hum turned to a wail. The villagers raised their heads, mouths opening in soundless screams. The light shot up like a pillar reaching the sky. Mara fell to her knees, blinded by the brilliance. And then, silence. When she opened her eyes, the village was gone. No houses, no well. Just an empty field under a normal gray sky. She looked around, confused, breath heavy. No map. No grandfather. No footprints. She stumbled through the trees, found her car exactly where she left it. The road now visible. Airlight. Had she ended it? Had she broken the curse? 2 weeks later, Mara sat at her kitchen table, sipping coffee. The world felt real again. Her dreams had stopped. The mirror showed only her reflection. The house felt warm. But as she read the newspaper, one article caught her eye. Small town in Vermont disappears overnight. Locals report blank spot where village once stood. Her heart dropped. It was starting again. The box hadn't been destroyed. Had been released. Mara dropped the paper and rushed to her bedroom. The mirror was fogged again. This time when she wiped it, she saw not Bran Hollow, but another town. Modern. Busy. Cars, people, children. But in the center of it all, the well. And standing beside it, eyes black, was a child holding a wooden box. She recognized the child. It was her. You can forget a place. But some places never forget you. And when they remember, they don't just want you back. They want everyone.